Thanks for the college fund, bestie. Living my best life in Bali. The text from my sister-in-law, Amanda, popped up on my screen, accompanied by a photo of her lounging on a beach chair, designer sunglasses perched on her nose. $500,000 buys a lot of mojitos. My hands didn't shake as I read the message. Instead, I felt an odd sense of calm wash over me. I saved the screenshot, adding it to my growing collection of evidence. Don't worry about the kids' future, another text buzzed through. They can always work at McDonald's like their boring mom. I'm Julia Matthews, 35, and I've spent the last decade working as a risk assessment manager at one of Boston's top banks. Not exactly McDonald's material, but Amanda never bothered to learn what I actually did for a living. To her, I was just the plain sister-in-law who married her brother Michael, the unglamorous one who chose stability over sparkle. Guess your secret hiding spot wasn't so secret after all. Amanda's texts kept coming. Thanks for funding my world tour. I glanced at the family photo on my desk. My twins, Emma and Ethan, both 10, grinning at the camera during our last vacation. The college fund she'd supposedly emptied was meant for them, carefully built over years of smart investments and savings. What Amanda didn't know was that I'd learned long ago to prepare for the worst, especially when it came to family. 3 months earlier, I'd noticed something off about Amanda's behavior. She'd started showing up at our house unannounced, asking suspicious questions about our finances, lingering around my home office when she thought I wasn't paying attention. One evening, I caught her photographing documents in my desk drawer with her phone. That's when I called Marcus Chen, my investment manager. "Julia," he'd said, his voice serious, "your sister-in-law has been making inquiries about your children's college fund. She claims to have power of attorney." I wasn't surprised. Amanda had always been envious of our stability, of the life Michael and I had built. She burned through relationships and jobs, always blaming others for her failures. Lately, she'd been fixated on our supposed privilege, conveniently forgetting the years of hard work we put in. "Let's set up a trap account," I suggested to Marcus. "Make it look like the real thing, but with some special modifications." The plan was simple but effective. We created a dummy account with the same balance as the real college fund, but with specific tracking measures in place. Every transaction would be flagged, every withdrawal documented. The real money was safely tucked away in a different account, one that Amanda knew nothing about. Now, as I watched her vacation photos roll in first-class flights, luxury resorts, shopping sprees at high-end boutiques, I felt a mixture of pity and anticipation. She thought she was living her best life on my children's future. In reality, she was building an airtight case against herself. My phone rang. It was Michael, my husband. "Jules, have you seen Amanda's social media?" His voice was tight with concern. "She's posting about some kind of world tour. Please tell me she didn't." "Check your email," I said calmly. "I just sent you something you need to see." I had prepared a detailed document showing everything. The security footage of Amanda breaking into our home office, the bank's records of her attempted fraud, the transfer she'd made to her personal account. Most importantly, proof that the real college fund was safe and untouched. "I don't understand," Michael said after a long pause. "How did you know?" "Remember last Christmas?" I asked, when Amanda gave that drunk speech about how we didn't deserve our success. How some people just needed to take what was rightfully theirs. "I've been in risk assessment for 12 years, Michael. I know the signs." There was silence on the other end of the line. Michael had always tried to see the best in his sister, making excuses for her behavior, hoping she'd eventually grow up. But this time, there was no excuse to be made. "What happens now?" he finally asked. Before I could answer, another call beeped through. Marcus Chen. "Julia," he said, his tone professional but with a hint of satisfaction. "The trap has been sprung. Every transaction your sister-in-law made has been logged and reported. The authorities have been notified and her accounts have been frozen. Would you like us to proceed with pressing charges?" I thought about all the times Amanda had mocked my career, my choices, my dedication to providing for my children's future. I thought about her smug texts, her casual cruelty, her complete disregard for her own niece and nephew's education. "Yes," I replied firmly, "proceed with everything." As if on cue, another text from Amanda popped up. "Just booked a private villa in Maldives. Who needs college when you have an aunt like me?" I smiled, knowing that her next accommodation would be far less luxurious. Marcus would be triggering the fraud alerts soon, and Amanda's tropical paradise would come crashing down around her designer sunglasses. Should we tell her? Michael asked, still on the other line. No need, I replied. The investment manager's call tomorrow morning will explain everything. For now, let her enjoy her last few hours of fantasy. I looked at the family photo again, at my children's bright, hopeful faces. Amanda had underestimated me, seeing only what she wanted to see. A boring sister-in-law who wouldn't know how to protect what was hers. She forgot that sometimes the quiet ones are the most prepared. My phone buzzed one final time. Thanks again for the college fund. Best thing you've ever done for me. I saved the screenshot, adding it to the evidence file. Tomorrow would bring a very different kind of celebration. But for now, I had some calls to make. After all, international fraud charges require quite a bit of paperwork. The call came at exactly 8:47 a.m. ballet time. I know because Amanda's Instagram story, posted just minutes before, showed her ordering a $200 champagne breakfast by her private pool. Living the trust fund life. She'd captioned it. Marcus's voice was crisp and professional as he delivered the news that would end her luxury getaway. Mrs. Matthews, I've just spoken with your sister-in-law. The authorities have frozen all accounts associated with the fraudulent transfers. Would you like me to patch you into the conference call? I muted my end and listened as Amanda's world imploded in real time. What do you mean frozen? Amanda's voice cracked with panic. There must be some mistake. That money was given to me. Ms. Walker, Marcus replied, we have documented evidence of unauthorized access and fraudulent transfers totaling $489,742.53. The funds you accessed were part of a monitored security account. Every transaction has been logged and reported to the Financial Crimes Unit. The silence that followed was deafening. But Julia never said anything. Amanda's voice rose hysterically. She just let me take it. She knew I was spending it. That's correct, Marcus stated. Mrs. Matthews allowed the transactions to proceed as part of the bank's fraud detection protocol. The real college fund remained secure and untouched. I could almost see Amanda's perfectly made-up face crumbling as reality set in. The sound of breaking glass echoed through the call. Probably that champagne breakfast meeting an untimely end. This is impossible, she whispered. Julia doesn't know anything about banking. She's just a risk assessment manager at one of Boston's top financial institutions. Marcus finished for her. Mrs. Matthews has been documenting your attempts to access these accounts for months. Would you like me to review the evidence? What followed was a detailed list of every break-in attempt, every forged document, every unauthorized access, complete with dates, times, and security footage. Amanda had been so confident in her superiority that she hadn't even tried to hide her tracks. The local authorities have been notified, Marcus continued. Given your current location, this falls under international banking fraud. I suggest you contact legal representation immediately. The call ended with Amanda in tears, her dream vacation transformed into a nightmare. Within hours, her social media went dark, but not before I'd archived every post, every boast about spending my children's money. Michael arrived home that evening looking exhausted. He'd spent the day dealing with frantic calls from their parents, trying to explain how their daughter had managed to commit international fraud. Mom and Dad want to know if we'll drop the charges, he said, sinking into the couch. They're worried about Amanda's future. I looked up from my laptop where I'd been completing the final fraud report. Funny how they're concerned about her future now, but not when she was stealing our children's education fund. They said we should have warned her. Michael continued, running his hands through his hair. That we set her up. No, I replied firmly. Amanda set herself up. All I did was protect our children from someone who spent years thinking she was entitled to whatever she wanted. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. You've ruined my life. I trusted you. How could you do this to family? I showed Michael the message. She trusted me? To what? Stand by while she stole from our kids. Before he could respond, another text arrived. Mom and Dad will never forgive you for this. You've torn this family apart. Michael read the message, his face hardening. No, Amanda torn this family apart when she decided to steal from her own niece and nephew. I smiled, reaching for his hand. This was why I've fallen in love with him. Beneath his desire to see the best in people, there was a solid core of integrity. The bank's fraud department is handling everything, I explained. Amanda will have two choices: face criminal charges or agree to full restitution with strict conditions. She doesn't have that kind of money, Michael said quietly. No, but she has that luxury condo our parents bought her last year, and that car she's always bragging about. Sometimes growing up means facing consequences. As if on cue, my phone rang. Marcus again. Mrs. Matthews, we've received a call from your sister-in-law's lawyer. They're requesting a meeting to discuss restitution options. I put the call on speaker so Michael could hear. Already? I asked. That was fast. Apparently, Ms. Walker attempted to check out of her hotel and was informed her credit cards had been declined. The hotel is holding her passport until the bill is settled. Michael's eyes widened. I squeezed his hand, knowing this was difficult for him. The lawyer mentioned something about liquidating assets, Marcus continued. Would you like me to set up the meeting for tomorrow? I looked at Michael, who nodded slowly. Yes, I replied. Tomorrow would be perfect. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and showed Michael something I'd been working on. A structured repayment plan that would allow Amanda to avoid criminal charges while making full restitution. It's strict, I explained. Monthly payments, financial counseling, no access to credit or loans until everything is repaid. But it's better than prison. You thought of everything, Michael said, a hint of amazement in his voice. That's my job, I reminded him. Assessing risks, protecting assets, and always having a backup plan. Just then, Emma and Ethan burst into the room, back from their after-school activities. Mom, Emma exclaimed, is it true what Grandma said? Did Aunt Amanda try to steal our college money? I patted the couch, inviting them to sit. Yes, but don't worry. The money is safe. Sometimes people make bad choices and then they have to deal with the consequences. Like when I tried to copy Josh's math test and got detention. Ethan asked. Exactly like that, Michael answered, but on a much bigger scale. As I looked at my family, Michael still processing his sister's betrayal, the twins trying to understand adult problems through children's eyes. I felt certain we'd made the right choice. Sometimes protecting your family means making tough decisions, even when others might not understand. My phone buzzed one final time that evening. A message from Marcus, meeting set for 9 a.m. Ms. Walker's lawyer has agreed to all preliminary conditions. She's on the first flight back from Bali. I closed my laptop and joined my family on the couch. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, but for now, we were safe, secure, and most importantly, together. Who wants to help make dinner? I asked, standing up. Can we have breakfast for dinner? The twins asked in unison. Sure, I laughed, but maybe hold the champagne. The conference room at my bank felt smaller than usual as Amanda sat across from me, her designer clothes wrinkled from the long flight, dark circles under her eyes despite her makeup. Her lawyer, a sharp-suited woman named Patricia, sat beside her reviewing the restitution agreement. Gone was the smug sister-in-law who taunted me with vacation photos. In her place sat someone who finally understood the magnitude of her actions. The terms are non-negotiable, Marcus stated, sliding the document across the table. Full restitution of $489,742.53, plus legal fees and hotel charges from Bali. The condo and car will need to be sold immediately as down payment. Amanda's hands trembled as she reached for the papers. This is everything I have, she whispered. Actually, I spoke for the first time. It's everything you took. There's a difference. Her eyes met mine, and I saw a flash of the old Amanda, ready to argue, to blame, to justify. But Patricia placed a warning hand on her arm. My client accepts the terms, Patricia said firmly. We understand this is extremely generous considering the alternative. Marcus nodded. Mrs. Matthews has agreed not to press criminal charges, provided all conditions are met. This includes mandatory financial counseling, monthly check-ins, and full transparency about all financial accounts for the duration of the repayment period. As Amanda signed each page, I thought about the email I'd received from our parents that morning. They called me heartless, accused me of trapping their daughter, of destroying her life. They hadn't mentioned their grandchildren once, or the future Amanda had tried to steal. There's one more thing, I said, pulling out an additional document. This is a formal agreement that you will have no contact with my children until the restitution is complete and you've undergone counseling. Amanda's head snapped up. You can't keep me from my niece and nephew. Actually, I can, I replied calmly. You tried to steal their future. Actions have consequences, Amanda. This is one of them. 2 hours later, I walked out of the bank, the signed agreements safely filed away. Amanda had left in tears, finally facing a problem she couldn't charm or manipulate her way out of. Michael was waiting in the parking lot, leaning against his car. How did it go? He asked, pulling me into a hug. She signed everything. The condo goes on the market next week, and her lawyer is handling the car sale. It's done. He held me tighter. Mom called again, said we're being cruel. I pulled back to look at him. Are we? Really? Because I think we're being incredibly merciful. She committed international fraud, Michael. She could be in prison. I know, he sighed. It's just, she's still my sister. And Emma and Ethan are your children. I reminded him gently. Sometimes being a parent means making hard choices to protect your kids. 6 months later, life had found a new rhythm. Amanda's condo and car had sold, covering almost half of what she'd taken. She'd moved into a small apartment and found a job. Her first real one in years. The mandatory counseling was revealing deep-seated issues with entitlement and jealousy that she was finally being forced to address. Our parents were still struggling to accept the new family dynamic, but they'd stopped trying to make us feel guilty about protecting our children's future. One evening, as Michael and I helped the twins with their homework, Emma looked up from her math book. Mom, she said thoughtfully, is Aunt Amanda ever coming back? I exchanged a glance with Michael before answering. Maybe someday, honey, when she's better and has shown she can be trusted again. Good, Ethan chimed in. Because I want to tell her about my college plans. I'm going to be a forensic accountant, like those people who catch bad guys who steal money. Michael tried to hide his smile while I fought back tears. Our children were learning valuable lessons about responsibility, consequences, and the importance of protecting what matters. Lessons Amanda was learning too, albeit the hard way. Later that night, I received an unexpected email from Amanda. Julia, the counselor says I should take responsibility for my actions, so here goes, I'm sorry. Not just for taking the money, but for everything. For mocking your job, your choices, your life. You weren't boring, you were smart. You weren't plain. You were prepared. I didn't see it then, but I do now. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I want you to know I'm working hard to make it right. Amanda. I showed the email to Michael, who read it with tears in his eyes. Think she means it? He asked. Time will tell, I replied, but it's a start. I closed my laptop and looked around our living room, at the homework spread across the coffee table, the family photos on the walls, the life we'd built and protected. Amanda's actions had tested us, but they'd also proven something important. That sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one you should watch out for, especially when they're protecting their children's future. The college fund remained safe and growing, a testament to preparation, patience, and the power of letting people reveal who they really are. As a risk assessment manager, I'd always known the importance of planning for worst-case scenarios. As a mother, I learned that sometimes those scenarios wear a familiar face. But tonight, helping my children plan their futures, I knew we'd all learn valuable lessons about trust, consequences, and the true meaning of family. Sometimes the best revenge isn't punishment, it's simply being prepared.